We are the Guinea Pig Collective. All will be assimilated. Resistance is futile.
How you can imagine. Now you can deny. Thundercats by Rainbow Boy.
Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome back to another Toys from the Past. So on today's Toys from the Past, we are going to be doing requested toy lines yet again. I have been having some issues and I haven't been able to pump out videos quite as often as I would have liked. But what can you do about it? It is what it is, and you know, I just have to move on. So up first for today's requested toy line, because we're going to have a two-parter again. The first one is brought to us by Deviant Porg. Thank you, Deviant Porg, for your suggestion. And Deviant Porg suggested Visionaries, Knights of the Magical Light. This toy line was released in 1987, and it had promotional tie-ins, which included a comic book series published by Star Comics and a half-hour animated television series produced by Sunbow Productions. The comic book was released in September of 1987, and the cartoon was released in November. The comic itself only lasted 6 issues and was canceled halfway through a 4-part storyline. Now, the animated series lasted 1 season of 13 episodes, but it was not picked up and renewed. Some sites may actually try to have you believe that the toy line was based on the comic and the cartoon. This is incorrect. Obviously, if you listen to the dates that the comic and the cartoon had both come out, they were in the later half of 1987. And they were based on the toy line, which unfortunately was unsuccessful, mostly due to the extreme cost associated with the holograms that were on the chest of the figures. And while many other types of action figures helped to fill niches in the action figure market, this one just did not meet up to expectations for whatever reason. But who are the Visionaries? The Visionaries, Knights of the Magical Light, is set on the planet Prismos, an advanced society where all electronics and complex machinery no longer function and the people are forced to rely on old magics. The Visionaries consist of 2 groups of knights, the Spectral Knights and the Darkling Lords. Everyone who wishes to gain magic is invited to a competition by the wizard Merklin. After surviving traps, dangerous creatures, and each other, both sides are rewarded. The front plate of their armor is embedded with a unique animal totem, which they can turn into. The animals were selected by Merklin based on their personalities or abilities they exhibited during the competition. Now, the knights that had staffs were told to dip them into an energy well, enchanting them with various magic, its power activated by the reciting of special verses. Any staff-wielding knight can activate any staff as long as he casts the spell properly. Now, in the comic, the staffs could be used as many times as needed without any need to recharge them, but in the cartoon, only 1 use was permitted before they needed to return to Iron Mountain to recharge them, which caused a lot of tension, particularly on the part of Darkstorm. The knights without staffs could not use the staffs of others, but could infuse vehicles with magic powers, such as the magical dungeon of Darkling Lord's Dagger Assault. There is no limit on vehicle usage, unlike the power staffs. Also, the spells given for the vehicles on the box of the toys were never used in either the comic or this series. In the comic, the female knights had shields, which worked the same way as the staffs, but in the TV series, they did not. And in The Power of the Wise, Verluna was seen piloting the Skyclaw. Galadriel was also seen in Horn of the Unicorn, Claw of the Dragon, doing some repair maintenance work on the capture chariot. Any vehicle driving knight can drive any vehicle, and both Farrell and Ector have been seen operating the Dagger Assault. And the characters go as such: Leoric, leader of the Spectral Knights; Ector, Leoric's lieutenant; Farrell, the youngest of the Spectral Knights. Cryotech, the oldest of the group. Witterquick, prince of an unnamed city in the south. Arzon possesses the totem of the eagle. Galadriel, the only female knight among the Spectral Knights. Then there is Darkstorm, the leader of the Darkling Lords. Recon, a career thief. Mordred, Darkstorm's most loyal Darkling Lord. Sindar, previously a construction worker. Kravix, the most short-tempered of the Darkling Lords. Lexor, he possesses the totem of the armadillo. And Virolina, prior to the Age of Magic, Virolina was a newscaster. Now, this series of toys actually was only produced for one series in 1987. Leoric, Arzon, Cryotech, Witterquick, Darkstorm, Kravix, Lexor, and Sindar were all standalone figures. As far as vehicles, the vehicles came with the other figures that were in that lineup. Lancer Cycle and Ektar, Skyclaw and Mordred, Capture, Chariot and Feral, and Dagger Assault Vehicle and Recon. And a second series of figures in 1988 was planned but never produced, and was going to include 18 other figures, 6 Sun Imps, 6 vehicles, and the Iron Mountain playset. This was one of those toy lines that Hasbro had truly and completely dropped the ball on. Anyway, guys, I would just like to go ahead and thank Deviant Porg once again for the suggestion. And now for the second half of the requested toy line show. Our second one is brought to us by Slasher McSplitter. Thank you, Slasher, for your suggestion, and here we go. Slasher wanted to hear about the Superpowers collection line. This line was based on DC Comics superheroes and supervillains that they had published in their comic books. And this line was actually so successful that it actually produced a bunch of knockoffs of its toys, including Toy Biz's DC Comics superheroes line. And because of the immense popularity of this line, Kenner actually relaunched it in the 1990s with a new line of action figures based upon the classic DC characters Total Justice. By now, you probably already know, and I have talked about it enough times, about Mego being involved in damn near everything. And they had already created superhero figures, not only based on Marvel, but DC, of course, as well. Now, how did Kenner wind up with this franchise when Mego was already creating figures? Well, DC Comics awarded the license of their characters to Kenner Toys, hot on the heels of Mattel's action feature heavy He-Man toy line, because that power of the action figure had reached new heights. And while other action figure toys had paved the way, He-Man took off like a rocket, skyrocketing and promoting sales well beyond anything that Mattel had ever dreamed of. Of course, DC Comics wanted in on that, and they decided to go with Kenner. Why exactly did they? Well, Kenner won that license away from Mego Corporation with their emphasis not only on action, but art as well. Now, Kenner devised hidden mechanisms within the figures that would trigger an action when the figure's legs or arms were squeezed. This emphasis on each figure's superpower led to the naming of the line the Superpowers Collection. Now, each figure in the first 2 series were also packaged with a mini comic featuring that character's adventures. And once the line was in full force, a merchandising frenzy took place, with DC Comics and Kenner slapping a Superpowers logo on whatever they possibly could. Now, 3 series of figures and accessories were released in 1984, 1985, and 1986. And it has been speculated that in addition, the toy line also helped establish the mainstream acceptance of artist Jack Kirby's seminal Fourth World characters, particularly Darkseid and all of his minions. apparently Kirby's creations were not only deemed ideal to be turned into action figures, but Kirby was actually commissioned to design action figures for his characters such as Darkseid, which resulted in the only time Kirby directly, monetarily benefited from his comic book creations apart from his work for higher wages. And in addition to Kirby, George Perez was similarly commissioned to design an action figure for his character Cyborg. And to help promote the line, DC Comics produced 3 comic book miniseries featuring characters from the toy line, one during each year of the toy line's existence. These comics were separate from the continuity of the regular comics featuring those characters. And Hanna-Barbera also helped by producing an updated version of the Super Friends called Super Friends: The Legendary Superpowers Show and the Superpowers Team Galactic Guardians. Warner Home Video also jumped in on this opportunity to issue episodes of Superman, Batman, Superboy, and Aquaman produced by Filmation in 1966. And they reproduced it on videocassette in 1985 under the Superpowers label, and reissuing them again in 1996. Burger King also produced a line of cup holders available at their restaurants in 1986. Other tie-in products were produced, including lunchboxes, posters, interactive books. Only the toy line carried the collection tag. All other merchandise would have a solo Superpowers logo. Of course, it was already stated that Toy Biz released a knockoff Superpowers line called DC Comics Superheroes. During this time, McDonald's also got in on it by releasing a set of 4 Happy Meal toys which had the Looney Tunes characters as DC Comics superheroes. And it was shortly after this that Kenner had reacquired the licensing and focused on solo Superman and Batman lines such as The Legends of Batman and Superman Man of Steel, and in 1996 had set their sights on the greater DC universe with their brand new action figure line called Total Justice. And thanks to Slasher for providing some of the pictures that you're about to see from his own personal collection. So the assortment series of figures starting with series number 1 included Aquaman, Batman, Brainiac, Flash, Green Lantern, Hawkman, Joker, Lex Luthor, Penguin, Robin, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Series 2 consisted of Darkseid, Desaad, Dr. Fate, Firestorm, Green Arrow, Calabac, Mantis, Martian Manhunter, Parademon, Red Tornado, and Steppenwolf. And the third series and final of it consisted of Cyborg, Plastic Man, Mr. Miracle, Shazam, Golden Pharaoh, Orion, Tyr, Samurai, Cyclotron, and Mr. Freeze. Mailaways, of course, were offered like every other figure of the 80s, which included the following premiums: Fan Club Kit, free poster, Steppenwolf, Superman cape, and a Clark Kent figure. And there was one other exclusive as well. In Argentina, they released a Riddler figure. Now, along with the figures of the Superpowers collection, they also produced vehicles and playsets. Now, among the vehicles and playsets that were included in the series were the Supermobile, the Batmobile, the Batcopter, Delta Probe 1, the Justice Jogger, Darkseid Destroyer, Lex Soar 7, Calabac Boulder Bomber, the Hall of Justice, and Darkseid's Tower of Darkness. Now, I do remember having a few of these, and my brother had an assload of them. Anyway, guys, do you remember this toy line? Have you ever seen this toy line? Are you interested in this one? Are you interested in the Visionaries? let me know what you think in the comments down below. And of course, my friends, I am so grateful that you are here watching this video with me. I truly do appreciate it. And of course, once again, I would like to thank Deviant Porg and Slasher McSplitter for their suggestions. And of course, as always, my friends, if you've enjoyed what you've seen and what you heard, go ahead and destroy that like button for me. And if you are new to the channel, welcome. I hope that you've enjoyed yourself so far, that you will consider checking out some of my other content. If you like what you see and what you hear, that you will subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And remember, guys, never let anybody tell you what you can and can't do, because your silence gives consent. I will catch you all next time. Later, y'all.